Okay, this lesson we are talking all about journaling, right? Now, journaling is a super important part of trading, so it can't be overstated, right? Journaling is very important, especially when we're learning how to trade, because we're going to be making mistakes. We're going to be doing things right that we may not even realize is the right thing compared to our mistakes. And what better way to visually see our progress and what we've been learning, what we've been doing, than by journaling. So there's a few different ways that I look to journal, and as a trader, you should be journaling every single day. I journaled every trade I took while I was practicing, while I was learning, and I still journal every single trade in terms of taking them now. It's also definitely the easiest part when it comes to trading is the journaling side of things, and it's just gonna help you improve so much with your trading, being able to visually go back over days where you may have made some mistakes, see what you did wrong, see where you can fix it, and then yeah, it's right there in front of you. You can go back, you can look at it, and you can work on it. So basically, I am using four ways of journaling trades. I have a way where I'm doing weekly journals, going over my week and writing day by day what happened on that day, sort of what I felt and what happened throughout that day. Then I have my entry journals, which I, of course, am filling out before the market opens. What am I seeing? And then why I entered into the market. That's where I put my entry journal. I then have an entry and exit sort of journal. It's basically where I just take photos of my entry, take photos of my exit, and then take photos of the entire day. I'll show you guys examples of this. But then I also just have like a trade log. So I fill out my thing. You know what? It's much easier if I show you guys. So basically, I don't have access to show you my book that I've got, but I'll take a screenshot and I'm going to put it up on the screen now. So the handwriting might be a bit messy, that's for sure, but basically this is my entry journal, and what I put in my entry journal is of course the date, what date I'm looking to trade, and then I've got some pre-market where I add in any news that will be coming out for that day. So as you can see, this example, we had some USD news. Because it was USD news, it was coming out a lot later in the session. I wasn't specific with the news for this particular example. Then I have under that where you can see GBP/USD, and through there I just put what the daily, 4-hour, and hourly is, or showing what trend we are currently in, whether that be bullish or bearish. And then I put the draw on liquidity as well. So on this particular day, it was bearish. I was looking for a sell. And then sometimes I also add in a little note section if I want to. If there's something on the market that I could potentially add in to my journal, then I'll say that going into the trading day. And then I have my entry reason. So why I entered into the trade, as you can see, this one was the 15-minute fair value gap got filled, and then we had a 1-minute break of structure, 1-minute fair value gap filled during the retracement, and then I entered off a strong bearish rejection. So that was basically as simple as it needs to be. Then I go into the result and I talk about the result. I talk a little bit about how I was feeling in this section, but mainly I just keep this based on the actual trade, the actual executions, and why I'm entering into the market. Then we have my weekly reflections journal. That's what I like to call it. And basically through this, you can see one side of the book, I'm adding a weekly analysis. So heading into the week before we even start trading, I basically just set out a couple of goals for myself, something that I want to see improved potentially from the previous week of trading, and just add in a bit of news as well, like some high impact news that could be coming out during that week that I potentially could be looking to avoid. And then on the left side of the journal, that is where I have each day of the week. And through that, that's kind of where I'm going to be putting my more emotional sort of aspect of my journaling. Because of course, as a trader, you don't want to be trading with emotions, but you're still going to be feeling emotions. And we'll be getting into that a little bit later down the line. But for now, we'll just focus on this. So through there, I basically just say what I was feeling about that particular day, what was going through my head, whatever it may be, right? So not really focus on the entry side of things or the technical side of things, more on the psychological side of things in terms of filling that out. And then at the bottom, I have my weekly results. So I like to follow that and just basically add in what that was at the end of the week. Now, talking of weekly results, I can actually add this one onto the screen right here. This is my layout for what I am entering when I take a trade. So for an example, we have the month here. Let's just say, obviously you start in January. I put out the month, and then we have multiple dates. We obviously take a trade, let's say the 5th. And then for me, I only trade GU at the moment. So GBP USD would be my trade pair. Then I have the position, either long or short. Let's pretend it's short as I click along. Then my risk for the day, I always risk 2%. We'll be going into that a little bit later on. 2%. And And then, yeah, you basically just fill this out, my entry time, what time I entered the market, what time either the take profit was hit or the stop loss was hit, and then I add in the result as well. I used to do like, my account balance was this, and then the result plus and minus, and like track it like that, but it got a bit too much and it's a bit unnecessary for this point, because obviously when you're trading through MetaTrader, you're going to see your trade balance at the same time. So yeah, this is how I fill out my trade log when I'm looking to take a trade, just so it's easier to then go back across it and quickly see days that I'm winning, days that I'm losing, and then I can obviously relate this to potential other journals and then correlate them, and yeah, blah blah blah, whatever. So that's that. Feel free to copy this if you want. You can obviously use this, tweak it. Yeah, I don't care, it doesn't matter. But that's how I do my trade logs. And then we have one more thing, which is my entry and exit logs, which is basically just me having photo proof of taking a potential trade. So I just grabbed an example from my trading this year. This is with my new strategy on the GBP USD. So I just have this simple little layout. We've got the pair that I trade. We have the date that I took the trade. This little box is either green or red, depending on whether it is a win or a loss. If it's a loss, I know what I'm going to be losing, so I don't need a number in the middle like there is one now. But if I do take a win, I like to put the risk to reward that it was. That way I can easily see how large of a winner that day actually was. And then in this middle bit, this is just a photo that I take at the end of the day. Actually, let's start over here first. So first of all, I take a photo every time I enter into the market, so I can see my reason for entering it. So this one, for example, we can see that I have a liquidity sweep going on. We get a break of structure, and then we get a fill of the fair value gap and a rejection from that. There we go. I think actually I used the same example. I didn't, but that would be my entry into the market for that particular day, and I can see that. And then we have the exit. So this is where either my take profit or stop loss was hit. I take a photo of where the market was when one of those was hit. As we can see, this day absolutely melted in my favor, and so I could take a photo of that. We can see that's when I entered into the market. This is when I exited the market. And then this photo is just an overall daily photo. So I take this on 15-minute chart. Basically, once the day is done trading all Tokyo, London, and New York session, once everything's closed out, I screenshot the entire chart just to see what happened for the rest of the day. So as we can see, this was my trade that I caught, managed to make some profits, and then price slowly traded back up and then absolutely spiked. Now this was of course because of some high impact news coming out in the New York session. So there's an example of some high impact news if you didn't do your homework last lesson, which you should have been. Now I of course also do trade recaps on my TikTok. I'm definitely not saying that you should be doing this. Like, it's ridiculous the psychology that goes into actually having to show your trades and results and stuff like that live to people. But apart from that, why I'm saying this is because potentially you could even look to like film yourself speaking about the trade that you took on the day, film it with the screen so you can see like what happened. It literally could just open yourself up, and as you're talking, you may even like say something and then it'll click. It'll be like, oh shit, like fuck, I thought it was a sweep, but it didn't actually reach that point, so it's not actually a sweep. So okay. Or there's a break of structure here, this was my break of structure, and then you're looking at it and you go, wait a minute, that's not 0.5 pips for the break of structure, that's actually an invalid break of structure, that's where I went wrong for this day, that's where I've got to improve. Boom. Something like that. So for me, being able to talk it out loud did help me in terms of seeing some mistakes a little bit easier. There would be times I'd be trading, I'd be filming the recap and then I'd look at it and I'd go, oh shit, this is embarrassing, like that's where I went wrong. I may not have put it in the video, I may have pretended to ignore it or something, but I would have written it down after the fact and then learned from that and been able to move on from it. So I'm not saying that you have to be posting TikToks, but maybe film yourself talking about it and then save it on your computer into a hard drive or something. It could help looking back on it. I find that it helps. I like doing it as well. And I would say that that is pretty much it for our lesson today. Every single trader in the world does journal their trades, even the best traders in the world. So be sure that you are journaling every single trade that you do take. Even if you're not trading on a certain day, write down why you're not trading. Was it because of news? Was it because of a bank holiday? Was it because of whatever the heck, bad price action? I don't know. Write it down. That way, getting it out onto a bit of paper really helps. So You definitely need to be journaling. Now, you should have been taking notes throughout this entire course as well so far. If you haven't, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, you're not going to be able to retain all this information just by watching the videos once. You should at least be writing it down. But if you haven't, maybe you should get a book. I'm sure that you've got like some school book somewhere even that you haven't used this year that's empty. Write the notes down in that. But homework for you guys. Look, I managed to fit some homework in on a journal lesson, right? Homework for you. I want you guys to go out, buy a couple of books, buy a couple of journals, and basically organize them into how you want to set up your trading. So if you want to do it like me with the weekly journals with reflections and the daily logs, and then an entry journal, stuff like that, you can. It's completely up to you how you want to set it up. Set it up how it fits you. You could do it all in one journal. That's absolutely fine. You could also do it on your computer if you really wanted to, like, type it out. But look, man, for me personally, I like to write it down with a pen and a paper. It just makes it feel more real. I feel like when I'm typing, I'm just sort of forgetting about it as soon as I say it. So it's a bit nicer to go through it in a physical sense. But of course, if you want to do it with Google Docs or some shit like that, then you can. But anyway, set up a couple of journals that you're going to be taking with you into your profitable journey. Shit, man, I didn't even know where I was going with that. But yeah, set up a couple of journals. That's your task for today. Pretty sure we covered all this that there is to talk about journaling. It's not too hard. It's not too deep. But yeah, it is super important. And it'll make the process so much easier.